What's happening? Reality After Show. We are back with more 99 to Beat coverage interviews, and I have two special guests here with me tonight. I have Luigi in the house. I have Tori in the house. What's going on, y'all?
Hey,
Hello,
excited to
thanks
be
for having
back.
us.
That means we made it another week.
We sure did.
That's the milestone. You just keep coming back to the podcast. I made it another round, you know?
Yes.
All right, let's dive into episode 2. And we're going to hit it off right off the bat with Tori's favorite challenge.
Yes, my favorite, the t-shirt challenge. Find your name.
You killed it on this one, girl.
Oh, for sure. Well, I remember, Luigi, I remember our group had this conversation before the game started. And I remember specifically telling Danny that when you look in the pile, there's a lot of bright, different colored shirts and there's a lot of them. There were red, yellow, pink.
And there were a lot of other types of shirts too,
green,
like patterns and polos, just like all kinds of clothing. So it definitely was a good observation.
Yeah, and
for the bright colors.
Exactly. I mean, I saw a ref shirt at the top of the pile, so I knew that couldn't be anybody's shirt. They were just throwing a bunch of random stuff in there. I believe they wanted to say it was over 1,000 shirts.
And I don't know what it looked like to like the viewers really at home, because I always take it from the perspective of like I was there. That pile was enormous.
It was insane.
Yes.
It was, and it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger as people were throwing t-shirts left to right. And so the radius grew, which means you have even more like.
Did you run into the pile like right away with everybody?
I did, but I mean, everybody was running in hard. I mean, what's his name? Did a backflip into it.
Yes, and somebody got a black eye from it.
From the backflip?
Yes. They like, I think it was King David. He got booted right in the eye, and he was doing the entire challenge with a black eye.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like I'm a small guy, and I was like, I am not charging this entire pile of 1,000 shirts. I'm like, when I already know that people are going to start throwing them. So I like waited a little bit. Like I paused a little bit, let everybody else just like bum rush the pile, and then I started to search.
That was smart. I tried to get in there right away, but it was really hard to squeeze my way through, even being such a small person. So I grabbed as many of these bright shirts that I could find, kind of like what I did with the lay game. And I grabbed a few and I looked, and I kept getting Hadia's name over and over and over again. I kept seeing her name a lot, and I kept seeing Jake's name, who was bottom 3. Ooh. And so every time I got his shirt, I would have had to like bury it a little bit more.
That seemed to be a common thing, though. A lot of people just kept picking up like the same shirt with the same person's name. I don't remember whose name I was picking up, but it was like multiple times. I'm like, again with this damn shirt? I was like, I'm like, just, throwing it into the pile. But really overwhelming. And as you see people starting to put their shirts on, you start to panic. Like I was always in panic mode. You'll see it eventually at some point. Yeah, I mean, I think I found mine like middle of the pack. So they unfortunately didn't show it on TV, but middle of the pack.
That was a good spot to be in, because I mean, I was stressed out. I was sweating. I had my very first workout class yesterday that I attended, and I said to myself, like, I am just as tired as I was during that t-shirt game, because it went on for over an hour. And there were so many shirts too that looked just like this, but instead of somebody's name, it would say things like Aaron Rocks or not this one.
Yep. And I was like, oh, they're trying to be cute. I was like, real funny. I'm like, there's 3,000 shirts here. I'm like, there's no time for fun and games.
And I kept picking the same shirts up over and over and over, and I was getting frustrated. And I mean, I was done. I really thought that this was going to be the game that got me out.
I was nervous for you. I was like, that's my jersey, girl. I was like, I cannot have you go out on this. So I was like on the sideline, just like praying. I'm like, come on, find that damn shirt.
And didn't you see my shirt when you were on the sideline? I know Aggie did. She told me afterward.
I didn't see it like in the safe zone. I really wasn't paying attention to anything on the ground, really. And I don't think I picked yours up during the search. So,
well, Aggie told me afterward, when I finally got my shirt, that she was so frustrated for me because she was in the safe zone and she was staring right at my shirt. And the rule is, if you find somebody else's shirt playing the game, you can't give it to them. Even if it's your best friend, even if it's your brother or sister or family member, you have to put it down. You can't give them the eyes. And even when you make it through and you're cheering for the people that are left in the game, you can't be like, Tori, closer, nothing to suggest where you're.
There was no communication. You could just cheer the people on, like, you know, and from the sidelines. But as far as like giving hints of like where it might be, yeah, none of that was allowed. So that definitely made it tougher. Now, I noticed when I was rummaging through all the shirts, like there were some that were like neatly folded with like the name up. So I was like, oh, interesting. I'm like, if people maybe found their friends, they left it name up. That way, like, I guess if they passed by it, they would see it. Now,
Right.
I'm not going to lie. When I saw that, if it wasn't mine, I took it and I was like, because
I still had your shirt a few
times down, you're getting nervous. I was like, I'm not going to leave all these shirts face up for people to see. I wasn't necessarily burying them, but as you're looking, you know, you just maybe covered one or two.
Right, but because that guarantees you a little bit of safety or, you know,
or it buys you a little bit of time, I figured.
So that way you have more time to find yours. And some people were turning other shirts inside out because, like I had mentioned, I found Hadia's a few times and I placed it back down.
Yeah.
But she told me after the game that she found her shirt completely inside of out.
Oh,
and
wow.
that was not like that when I found her shirt so many times. So somebody,
I didn't even think about that. I don't even think I was
inside out to make it harder.
That's crazy. See, I wouldn't have even thought about that inside out. Who has time to do that? I mean,
I know
you're just picking up, tossing. So I wouldn't even thought to put it inside out.
Luigi, mine wasn't even inside out, and I still got bottom four. Like it was bad.
Listen, mine was pure luck. I just randomly picked one up, and I saw my name, and I said, "Oh my god!"
I guess my luck rubbed off on you. I didn't have it at that moment. I thought my luck was gonna run out right then and there.
It is a luck-based challenge. I mean, you can't be as lucky as D was. D just jumped in and came right out with the shirt. That was it.
I know.
Right away, I was like, "What?" So crazy. It's fun to watch back though, because when you're in that zone playing, you're not really worried about anybody else. I mean, like I was just very like laser focused on just get the task done and get out. So you never really knew how well or how poorly somebody else did or what their strategy was. So it's actually fun to watch it back now. Like I had no idea D was the first one that got the shirt in like 2 seconds. Like
me neither. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Seth tumbled over when he found his shirt. Like there were a lot of different ways that people were celebrating and getting through. I didn't know that they were letting out as many screams as they were. And I have a funny story. I remember at one point I was in the bottom. I want to say it was bottom 10 and it got really quiet. And I heard Ken and Aaron commentating and I heard them say my name, but it sounded like to me that they were trying to talk to me or ask me a question. So I stopped and I looked up at them and they were looking back down at me like, what are you doing?
Like keep going.
I remember doing this like, sorry, I'm going to keep going. And then when I got that shirt, it was the best feeling in the entire world. I could not believe it. I really thought I was a goner.
I loved how you picked it up though. Cause you were like, oh, and you just did it so like, almost like sneakily. You were like, ooh, like, you know, you like didn't want the others to see it. It was cute.
It was. And that's so funny because I didn't know how I really reacted until you watch yourself back and you see. I remember being excited and happy about it. But I think in that moment, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, wait, this is it? Like refs?
You're waiting for the confirmation too. I could tell because you had that big shock factor and then you go, oh, I need to put the shirt on. And once I put the shirt on, I'm good.
Yes, exactly. I was looking around and I was like, okay, this is the shirt. I got it. And they were like, put it on. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm looking around to make sure nobody finds it before, you know, so I don't have the chance to put my shirt on and get eliminated. It was stressful, but fun looking back at it.
Yeah, we can laugh and like joke about it now, but like in the moment, there's nothing fun about that. I don't care what anybody says. Seeing that large pile of shirts and then knowing that like it's like needle in a haystack, not fun. Very stressful.
No, not at all.
Never want to do that ever again. You go back. How's laundry for both of you since being back after that, you know?
The PTSD is very real. I'll tell you that much. When the laundry piles up, I'm like, oh God.
And I live with my husband and he's the type of person to create his own little laundry pile by the side of the bed instead of walking a few inches to the hamper to put it in. So I'm always on his back, like, make sure you put it in the hamper. It's only 2 steps away. Don't put it on the ground, because I'm not like that person. I've never been that person to throw it on the ground. But when I got home, I told him that, like, and I always tell him that, but I mean, nothing's really changed around here.
You're like, did you see what I went through on this show? I don't want to see clothes.
See?
I love it. Well, let's move on to the nut stacking challenge, which in itself is very, very difficult with execution because your hands have to stay so steady, and just the various strategies that we saw people implementing to keep themselves calm. Because once you start seeing people slowly start to finish, then the panic really sets in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I struggle just in general. I just feel like I'm never like a steady person. I just feel like I'm always like, I just have nervous energy. So like, I'm like, anything that requires a steady hand, like I'm screwed. So I felt like at a disadvantage. I had to literally stop after every time I stacked one of the little nuts. I just had to stop and shake my hands and just kind of like breathe. And then I went back and did the second one because there was just no way. My tower must have fell like 30 times.
Yeah, I was in the same situation as you, Luigi. I remember every single time my stack fell, and it was many, many times, they would all fall on the floor because I had it at the edge of the table. And the ref at one point had to stand right next to me and not keep walking around because he had to keep giving me more of the nuts.
Yes.
Because you can't, when they fall on the ground, you can't grab them.
I mean, this was my arm the entire time. I'm like, I mean, it was just like, I'm like, how is this going to actually work? Eventually it did, but not easy. And you get even more nervous when you start to see all the people that are, okay, you're safe. And you're looking around and you're like, oh crap, there's only 20 of us left. Like, so.
It was an intense game. It went on for a really long time. And it's so hot in there because you have the lights on, you're sweating, and then you're trying so hard to be still, but with the pressure alone, you can't help but shake. And I think I did okay in that one. I definitely wasn't near the very top, but I wasn't near the bottom either. I think I was in that middle sweet spot.
I think I was like in that middle part. And then honestly, when it was the last couple of people, that bottom two, it took a long time.
Our girl Aggie
fought so hard.
If you look really closely in the background during that episode, when Julian is cheering on his wife, Luigi and I are standing there side by side, like, come on, you got this. She was stressing us out. I mean, to be in that
she was so far up in the studio that it was really hard to like even kind of see what she was doing, like how many she had stacked.
Exactly. And our other friend, like Danny, who was really close to us, she was pretty far in the bottom too. And when she got out, I mean, the emotions just came through because you're really tense and, your adrenaline's pumping and you don't think you have it. And then it's just that immediate rush of emotions, the relief that comes to it. And it was a tough game for
it's intense. And I think a lot of people that watch from home, like I know I have family members or friends are like, why is everybody crying? Like, what's everybody's problem? That looks so easy. I'm like, you don't understand that intensity feeling unless you're there. Like you just don't get it. I'm like, that's why my face and every shot, I look like I'm like just going through it like every second. Everyone's like, did you have fun? You're never smiling. I'm like, I was always like just in panic mode, like 24/7.
Yeah, it's so true. And I didn't tell anyone in my family what game I got out in or my husband. And leading up to that game, he kept saying, I think that's the game that you're getting out on, Tori. I have a feeling that's the one. You're not good at chopsticks whenever
if you got out at all.
And I'm like, well, we're not eating, we're just picking it up. And it has nothing to do with that. But I made it seem like the possibility was there that I got out during that challenge. So he was pleased to see that I made it through.
It's a lot of pressure too, just watching and just y'all being in that moment. I want to ask though, people are getting up and celebrating. Does that throw you off when you're trying to concentrate? Did that impact y'all at all with actually knocking down your tower? Because people were celebrating very loud.
Mm-hmm.
I had to mentally prepare myself. And anytime we did any of the challenges, I was just very laser focused. I knew that people were going to start clapping and cheering and celebrating, which is fantastic, like great. I was in a zone, so I almost like ignored it all until I completed my task. But it could absolutely bother people. I mean, we saw it in the bottom too.
Yeah.
With Agnes, you know, she was like, can you guys be quiet because some of us have like sensory issues? And I was like, oh shit, like this might be the wrong
what she said. And I mean, the people on the bottom too, it lasted for what would you say, Luigi? How long?
Oh my god, just the two of them?
Yeah,
easily like 45 minutes, just the two of them.
And then the longer you go on and on, the worse you get at it too, because your hand is pretty stiffened. I mean, you had the world record breaker, who I think he had like 53 last year world record breakings. And they showed him doing jumping jacks to calm down his nerves, because someone like him, we thought, would find the game really easy and advance quickly.
There were people though that finished pretty quickly.
I don't remember how long it took for the
buzzer. I remember the buzzer going off, and within like not even 5 minutes, there were already people done. And I was like, wow. And that's when you start to panic, because you're like, if people are getting it this fast and I'm already struggling, I can't even stack two. You're like, oh crap. Like, you know, so you just got to hope and pray that there's somebody worse than you.
Oh, and I remember with our method, anytime I would put one on and I would slowly pull away, they would just all fall off. And I remember Tommy yelling, because he advanced way before I did, saying like, Tori, when you put it on the bolt, immediately take out the chopstick. Like, don't even think about it. Do it quick.
Yes.
Quick motions. And once I changed my method to that, then I found it easier than what I was doing with trying to go slow and steady, but being faster with pulling it out made a big difference for me.
And some people too, I know a lot of people were doing the stack, but other people were offsetting their stack with how they had it lined up too.
I mean, I was just, if I put it down and it stayed, that's how it was staying for me.
Yeah, I just
whatever works,
because they were all laying flat, and I just remember popping them like up, and then just like gently lifting and placing. Wasn't easy. That's all I know.
No, it was not.
You can tell it's not easy.
But the funny thing is, like, you'll see people trying it at home, or like, I don't know, there were like social media influencers like doing it on like TikTok and Instagram, and I'm like, yeah, that's all great. You're doing it at home with like two people. Try it in a studio with 90 something people or 80 something people, lights, cameras. You have a GoPro in front of your face. You know, people are shouting. It's not the same environment.
And don't forget, they tell us what the game is, and then they leave us standing in our spotlights, warming up, getting nervous about the game for, I would say, an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And then you just have to wait for that buzzer, and it's really loud. And your buzzer
is loud, and like even you saying the word buzzer, my heart is like starting to race, because that's how nerve-wracking it was. Because you just never knew when it was coming. They're like, okay, like places. And then you're waiting and waiting and waiting. And then it's like, oh, crap.
Sometimes it was 2 minutes. Sometimes it was 4 minutes. Like, it was never the same exact amount of time when each game started until that buzzer went off.
Yeah.
So you were just waiting and waiting. And then when it does, you're almost
like, these people are trying to kill us. I'm like, I'm too old for this. My heart, like, horrible.
At one point, I don't think it was this game. I think it was the first game where I said my heart is pounding.
Yes, I remember seeing that. Yep. And I remember after getting the lay in the first one, I remember going to the safe zone and I looked at somebody. I said, is this how it's going to feel every single game? I was like, I don't know if I could take this. I'm like, this is really bad.
And you know what? It did. It felt like that every single game. It never got easier.
No, it never got easier. I think it may have gotten worse.
Well, when you're waiting for that anticipation of the buzzer, what can happen as well is it goes off and then you don't move because you were waiting for such a long period of time. And then finally some people can get a jump head start. And depending on the game, that jump head start is everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I found myself almost doing that. Like it would go off and I was like, oh crap, like that means move. Like, what are you doing? So there was almost like a hesitation because you were waiting for so long and that anticipation. And then you're talking to yourself in your head. I felt like a crazy person half the time.
There was that with the buzzer, and then the lights would change too. So you would hear the buzzer first, and then there would be a 1 or 2 second delay where the lights would drop down and back up, and then the lighting would change. So you're kind of also waiting on that too in a weird way. Yeah, it was difficult.
so many different elements, and that's what makes the game so interesting to watch. But I want to jump into the next one because y'all were a duo for it. We're at the potatoes. So talk to me about how y'all decided to link up with one another and what your strategy was going into the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, Tori and I connected almost instantly. We actually were on the same flight flying out to the UK to film 99 to Be, and we just instantly connected. We're both from Jersey. We're both in education. So we felt comfortable with each other, and I think our communication skills were always like there. And I know I wanted a partner that I could talk to, somebody that would be supportive, and that was definitely all Tori. I am by no means like athletic. Like I cannot throw or catch anything. So I was actually surprised that she was like, yeah, let's do this. And I was like, okay, I'm just warning you. Like I cannot tell you what my skills are going to be in this. I've never tried to catch a potato on a fork, but we decided that you were going to throw it, right? You threw it.
I threw it, you caught it, because I was not confident in my abilities, you know, for that pressure to be on me. Gosh forbid we didn't get through. I mean, we had that realistic talk, Luigi and I remember we were like, you know, if it is us at the end, I mean, we can't be mad at each other. Like, we got to be realistic here. And yeah,
we knew like we weren't going to get it on the first potato. Like, we're like, it's trial and error. Let's just see what works. Like how high, how low, you know, force, no force, and kind of go from there. I feel like we got it on like the third or fourth potato.
We did. It didn't take that long. Yeah. And I remember our conversation too before the game started was keep throwing the potatoes. Don't wait, see if it works. And then
keep going. I'm like
just one. Okay. No time to even commentate on that. But I told Luigi, like, if I need to change something up with my throwing, just yell it out at me. Like, you know, shorter, underhand, taller, whatever the case.
And we were able to move, like the catchers, we were able to like move around in our spot. So it wasn't like you just stood there with the fork in your hand. You know, you were able to move. I did notice though and I didn't realize this until I watched the episode back. People were holding the fork with the prongs like facing them. And I didn't understand that. I'm like, the potato's coming from the opposite direction. So you want to almost stick it.
Right.
So that's what I did. When she threw the potato, instead of like waiting for it to land on it, I went for it. And a couple of times, unfortunately, the fork like went through the potato almost where it like broke. But eventually one went through and it just kind of stuck halfway. And I was like,
I love that you're using the chopstick from the game. Like, that's the real chopstick.
Oh, yes, I took it.
And you're using it to describe the potato challenge with the fork. I love it. But yeah, and every single time that I threw a potato, the person that was catching had to stay in a spot. But once that potato was in the air, then you could run forward or run backward. But if Luigi didn't catch it, then he would have to go back to that spot before I threw the next one. So we just wanted a consistent throwing pace.
I'm just really mad they didn't show us because we killed it on that one. They should have.
We did. And they didn't show us getting through. But I remember it was in 2 rows and we were in 1 row kind of towards Ken and Aaron. And when we got through, which was really quick, there were still the group to the left of us and right of us. I think there was only 1 or 2 pairs on our side.
And I think we played that game in heats.
Yeah.
There were 2 different heats, which they don't show you on TV. So there were actually 2 heats that we played. I don't remember if we were first or second, but there were heats to that game specifically. So
I remember we wanted to be first because we just wanted to get
it over with because that anticipation kills you.
Because the longer you wait, then the more nervous you get, and you know,
I just wanted it over with.
I feel it,
and we couldn't practice either. Like, they didn't let us practice at all either. So it was like
the only part they did show of us during that challenge was, if you look really closely in the background, you can see mine and Luigi's arms around each other's necks, like really happy and proud.
We're like, we did it.
Walking so joyful in the safe zone to watch everybody else. So we really did crush it, and we realized there, like, we're a good duo. So if there's any other duo games in the future,
I was like, you're my partner if there's any other duos, because we worked well together. So
we do.
And you have to have that with a partnership. You needed to be with someone that you knew I could be on the same page. If something wasn't going well, we could figure out another way to make it work, which then brings you to the bottom people, because they're separated now from the partner that they were originally with, and then have to select somebody else new to throw for them.
Yeah.
And you have to ultimately trust that person that they're going to be helping you out, because what's to stop someone from completely missing the throw? Nothing, right?
Yeah.
I actually thought about that. I mean, nobody in our group had that mentality. Everybody was very supportive. So I know anybody that was chosen was really going to try their hardest to get that person to catch the potato. But as I was sitting on the couch the other day, I actually thought about that. I'm like, what if somebody wanted to like kind of sabotage? Like, what if they had a really
that
close
is
friend?
true. Luckily, nobody did, but
no, I mean, nobody I think was thinking that, but sitting on the couch, because I'm such a fan of reality TV, I was like, somebody technically could have sabotaged if they wanted to.
yeah, like, oh, that's a competitor that's going to get far, so I'm just going to kind of throw it off.
Or
my best friend is in the bottom,
that's
and
what I'm
they
saying.
have a partner, and I want to make sure that they get through and they don't come in last.
And this is
would be quite a strategy.
And this is early in the competition. So yeah, you pick somebody that you think is going to throw well, and you think is going to do a good job, but like they could probably play it off like, yeah, man, you know, I went a little too to the right, a little too much to the left. You don't really know their skill level, so they could probably get away with it if they wanted to sabotage it, which would be really savage and really crazy.
Yeah, and our good friend David that you had on the podcast, Lauren, he got chosen to throw it, and he did. Him and his partner Geraldine were the first ones to get through, which was awesome. But I knew for myself, I was not going to put that pressure on me, where I'm affecting someone's game where they can get eliminated, and I don't want that fault to fall on my shoulders if that were the case. So I did not put my hand up for volunteering. I just wanted to watch.
I'm like, nobody would have picked me anyway, but I was not volunteering for that. No, thank you.
No.
That's one where it's just a tough scenario to put yourself in, because you know that you're safe and this person is literally relying on you to stay in the game.
Yeah. And everyone picked a good person that, you know, got safe very quickly during that game. Or, I mean, you had the person that got eliminated. She picked a football coach that has a good arm, a strong arm. And so it just goes to show, like, a lot of it is luck based and with timing, who can do it first. So,
and I think a lot of it is also mental. Like, if you get in your head too much and you let that dominate, you're done.
I think that's what happened.
And that's what happened. I think she was already defeated before it even started, and there was just no hope. And that's
yeah. I remember saying from the sidelines, like, don't give up. Like, she stopped playing. And she just started standing there and crying, and everyone was saying, like, you're still in the game. Like,
keep going.
It's all mentality. Keep going. Like, you never know. But that's what happened.
Yep.
Right. You never do know, which brings me to the next game, because in that one in particular, wow, what chaos, what crazy finish it was. That was absolutely insane, because, correct me if I'm wrong, it was that close. How it was in person was how we saw it on TV, right?
Yeah, the instruments.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And Luigi and I were paired up for that game, too.
What a nightmare of a game. Like, I do not think people understand what that felt like. It was
That was my least favorite game.
I had a lot of least favorite games, but that was definitely up there.
I think because it was the scariest game for all of us. I mean, they had us stand into assigned spots, blindfolded us, and it's not the type of goggles that you can look underneath and get a little view or look to the side. And
they were tight and completely blacked out.
So from your ears not working, because you hear almost 100 instruments going off at the same time, not being able to see, and having no control of walking into somebody, getting injured. Like, of course, everybody was carefully and walking slowly, but you had no idea where you were in that room. Like, for all I knew, I was by the exit door and not in the center.
And that's what happened with me. As soon as the buzzer went off and we were allowed to start like playing the instrument, I remember walking around what felt like an eternity and literally not touching a single person. And I'm like, where are all the people? Like, which direction did I go in that like I'm not touching anybody? And I think people that had a two-handed instrument where you needed both hands, we were already at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
Because we couldn't play the instrument while reaching, because you're trying to play the instrument with both hands. And we had the xylophone, and Tori and I happened to be on the same team, which we realized obviously at the end when we took the blindfolds off, but I don't even know. A xylophone, I have no idea how to play that. I'm like, am I supposed to like tap it? Am I supposed to like drag the little baton down it? I had no.
Yeah, I was doing both.
And it wasn't sounding like anything.
And when you're playing with two hands, you know, your arms are getting tired. And I knew that I was helpless to my team because my ears were not working.
Yep,
and so I said, the only way for me to be a good participant, a good teammate, is to play it as loud as I can. And it's not a loud instrument. So I remember just bang, 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 bang. I was beating it up pretty much. And then my arms started getting tired. And then so I'm letting everyone else on my team try to find me. And Courtney found me really quickly. So she latched on. So I knew it was working. So she started being the listener and I started playing as loud as I can. And I think a lot of people did hear my instrument.
If it wasn't for, in our group, if it wasn't for Jared, he literally, I think, like grabbed me by my neck. And at that point, I was like, I don't even know what instrument you have. I'm like, but just take me. I said, because I have nothing else going for me right now.
Right.
I cannot feel anybody. I cannot hear anything. I don't know what this instrument sounds like. I'm like, just take me. And then eventually, as we were kind of going around, all I remember is hearing Courtney sobbing, crying. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, we're done. I'm like, we're done. I'm like, we are going home. Because she was literally sobbing, crying. You don't remember that? She was crying the entire time.
It was so loud.
Oh,
and
no,
she
all I
was
heard was
right
the sound
next
I
to
said.
me, linked. That just goes to show how bad my hearing is. She was linked.
Yep.
On my arm.
And I felt it in my soul.
I couldn't even hear it with all the volume.
I was like, we're done. I was like, we're done. And then all of a sudden we got the tap to take our blindfolds off. And I remember you could see it clearly in the clip. I take my blindfold off and I'm confused because I'm like, wait, I was like, there's two other groups still going. I was like, oh crap. Like we're still in it. And I remember being like, where's our station? And then just like, we all took off.
Yeah. And I remember too, that little stick that we had to hold to play with. My arm was exhausted from banging on that. So I had it held out at one point because you can still touch. And so I wanted to confirm that the people that were hanging on to us, locked in arm by arm, actually had our instrument. And so I would hold it out. And that also made me feel better that no one was going to just bump aggressively into me because you can't control it. So I had the arm out, making sure like it was a safety barrier for me, but that way people could feel it too and be like, yes, I have this instrument. Even if they couldn't hear the instrument, they knew that they had the same one because
I wish they showed, there was a part when we were walking around that somebody in our group, Lance, must have touched me or the instrument like 3 or 4 times. And I remember specifically pushing this person away because I couldn't feel his instrument. And I'm like, this person's not in my group. And I remember pushing him away like 3 or 4 times. And then finally at the end, when we took our blindfolds off, he was like, what the hell were you doing? Like, so many times and you kept pushing me away. I'm so embarrassed, but I didn't think you were part of our group.
Funny. Yeah, because you're so disoriented. You don't know what's going on. And like also what was so hard for me, Luigi, too, was when we would find our teammates, Lauren, we would lock arm in arm. So we can't talk to each other at all. And people would try to steer left and then other half of the group would try to walk to the right or forward or backward. And I remember being in the middle of the chain. So I'm just getting pushed and moved. But I'm like, you know what? If they're hearing other people on our team, I'm going to let them. That's fine. So you're locked arm in arm, holding your xylophone in your one hand and then the stick in the other, playing it and moving without being able to see or talk. And it was just so.
Now, anybody that had a two-handed instrument, I think was at a disadvantage completely.
Oh, yeah. 100. And I believe that there were instruments that were much louder than ours.
100%. I don't even know what mine sounded like because I couldn't hear it.
Yeah.
I'm like, does this thing work? I'm like, is this thing on? Like, nothing worked. I don't know.
Before the game started, all the refs came out and they had us listen to each ref play the instrument. So we had an idea of what
the
it
sound
would sound like if we got the instrument. And the team that got
that was really helpful.
I know. And the team that got eliminated had, what was it? A bowl? And everybody said they didn't want it. Everybody knew before the game started and they had us put our blindfolds on that you would be at such a disadvantage if you were chosen on that team.
I don't even know what that instrument is.
And they got eliminated.
No.
They were close though, because that was the issue that they were in. They ended up dropping the instruments, and that's hard to find. If you're dropping, the bongos or something, we're finding the bongos right away.
Exactly.
But that you're not finding.
I think she dropped the little stick or whatever.
That's what it was, and you can't find that when it's complete chaos. That's so difficult to be able to find. But that's just a rough challenge in general, and I'm sure there's instruments you never want to hear again after that.
Oh, I never want to see a xylophone again in my life.
And when you found your team, it wasn't over then. I mean, you saw Luigi's face, like taking off the goggles, how disoriented.
I'm like, where am I?
For our area to build our music stand. And I remember I saw in the one clip, I started running the opposite direction. I turned around and you guys were running this way and I was running that way. And I was like, oh, and I go, oh, well, I'm definitely the winkling. Whoops. And then we're rushing, we're building our music stands and everyone's kind of like,
I'm just glad nobody dropped any of their their little stick in our group, because that would have been a disaster.
Yeah, we all listened to the rules for that, because they told us we had to hold on to our instrument to then play in sync all together afterwards. So I don't know why you would drop it and run. None of us did that. Thank goodness.
Yes.
I guess there was too much chaos for them, because it wasn't just one person that dropped it. It was a couple of people that dropped it, which was crazy. But
yeah,
it's how the game works. It's how the cookie crumbles in that scenario. And then that's another chunk of people gone because of it's another group challenge, which then leads me into what I would say looks simple to the viewers, but not so simple once you're doing it. How did y'all feel about that challenge?
Yeah, the slingshot balloon. Oh,
so I don't think people realize how hot it was in that studio that day, because they had shut off like basically any fans or anything that would affect the balloon staying in the podium. So it was so hot in there. So people were like sweating and did it look far as a viewer on TV? Because it was a pretty good distance. Like
it was far.
It was far.
Did it look far, Lauren?
Yeah, from your perspective, like did it?
From my perspective, it looked far enough in the sense I didn't feel like you were right up on the balloon, but I also didn't feel like you were super far away from the balloon.
Yeah, it was definitely far. I feel like it was farther than it looked from the TV angles that it portrayed. But it was just one of those things, like you just had to keep shooting. Like just don't stop. Like I must have shot like 40 rubber bands. Like, you know what I mean?
Me too. And I didn't want to stand up during that game, A, because I wanted to make sure I was more level, but B, you need to keep shooting them over and over and over. You miss, you get another one. You miss, you get another one. So if you're standing up, you don't want to keep bending down to grab one. Right. And the rules were we couldn't just take the rubber bands and throw it. We only had to do one at a time. So my index finger was hurting. And I was next to Danny, and Danny was like one of the very first few people to get
through. I also noticed that there were some balloons that were more wedged into the little podium thing than others, because I hit my balloon probably like 10 times and it just didn't move. Like direct hit. And I'm like, what, like, why is this balloon not budging? And then eventually it eventually fell, but I stayed low to the ground and I was almost shooting like from an angle, like up.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I agree with the balloon. Like with Danny, she got out really quickly. And then they told us, well, somebody asked the question, like, if you hit somebody else's balloon and it goes off, does that count? And they were like, yeah, it counts. If someone's balloon is knocked off, then they're in the clear and you got to still keep going for yours. So with Danny getting through so quickly and me kind of struggling in this game, I told her afterward, like, I wish you aimed at mine, did mine first, and then
hers. Yeah.
But with the weight of the balloon, what they did was they had another balloon, I believe, in the balloon, so that way it would stay sturdy on the podium. And because it was so hot in the stadium, that the studio, that some people's balloons inside the balloon would pop and it would make it lighter. So that was kind of an advantage for people that had those balloons. It would be easier to knock over. I know, same with you, Luigi, when I kept hitting my balloon
and it wouldn't budge.
It would curve over, but then knock right back into place.
Right into place, same. And it happened over and over and over. And I was getting so frustrated because I remember seeing people to my left and right just like grazing their balloon and it would fall off. And I was like, are you serious? I'm like, how many times do I have to hit this thing? So it wasn't like I had bad aim. Like I was actually okay with that. And
Right.
yeah, it took a bit of time, but I was probably in the middle somewhere for that one.
I definitely didn't have the best aim at the start. I hit a ref, I remember, with the rubber band that was
Well,
standing.
actually, a lot of them were getting hit in the background.
And he goes, "Oh!" He walked out of the way. He was like, "I'm not staying in here." But yeah, and I remember a ref coming up to me to hand me another huge pile of rubber bands because I ran out, and
there were also two different types of rubber bands. Do you remember inside of that little bucket? There were like regular, like brownish tan ones, and then there were blue ones, and they did have different stretch to them. So
they did. I used the blue ones. I thought the blue one gave me better aim and just more force.
Yeah, I agree. I think the blue ones had a little bit more elasticity to them. So
yeah, I struggled, but I got through. I wasn't anywhere near the bottom as our friend Aggie. And you'll see Luigi and I standing behind her once again. We were holding hands, and we looked so we looked so
we're just like, come on, like you got to get this. We can't have you go home.
Yeah, because that took a while. And what the viewers don't know is they had to take a pause and go outside and catch a breath because it was so hot in there. It kept going on and on. But Jackie, who was in the bottom too, she was having a meltdown about it. And so they stopped the game, let them catch their breaths, go outside, get some fresh air, some water.
That went on a lot longer than the viewers see. And we were in that studio for quite a while, even though it seemed like a very simple task. And we thought it would be over quickly, but it was not.
It was definitely another game that lasted over an hour.
Yep.
A lot of them did. And that was one of the games for sure. And then she came back, and every single time we're holding her hands. And then when she popped it, we just went hysterical.
Yep.
You saw we were jumping up and down.
And we all went in to hug her. Yeah, that was our girl. So we were like, we cannot have her go home.
That's the best part of these games, being there for each other and then celebrating when we get through. And
it was a very supportive environment. Like there was never any negativity. Like everybody was just always cheering somebody on. Whether it was somebody you were close to or somebody else at the bottom. But that was kind of the nice thing about the whole experience.
Yeah, people always had someone cheering for their name.
Absolutely. There's always some type of group rooting for, whether it was the person on the left, the person on the right. So you're not sitting there as a player thinking in your head, nobody's cheering me on. Everyone's always rooting for somebody. And that's what makes this game, I think, pretty special, because it's very refreshing to see that, because most shows, it's not that at all. It's a different environment. It's very, very cutthroat.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would have been if it was a more cutthroat type of game. I think it probably could have gotten ugly very quickly. This was a very supportive cast, and just good vibes and good people. So
I agree. And I think it helps too with the individual games. Now, games like the t-shirt challenge, the lays, when we're all running into the middle, it's kind of like you're on your own there because everybody's competitive in that moment. But at least when you're sitting at a table or, you're kneeling and you have your own area to shoot rubber bands at the balloon, you don't get that stress from people around you.
But nobody was aggressive. Even in those big challenges where we all had to run to the center, nobody was aggressive. Nobody was pushing us out of the way. Or at least I didn't get that on my side of the circle.
No, for sure. I think it's just chaotic because so many people are running in the center at the same time.
That's why I always took a step back. I let everybody else stampede the circle. I was like, I'm gonna wait a second. I'm tiny. I'm I don't want to get stepped on and injured.
Yeah, we were talking about before with King David and his eye. I didn't realize how bad it was until they showed it on the episode.
Yeah, I didn't.
Did they say no more backflips after that happened? Was that in the rule? Because here's my mindset. I'm going to go into a large group of people. Let's just throw in a back flip or a front flip or whatever it may be and just land it and stick it. What is it adding?
I certainly cannot do any sort of flips, but maybe if I could, I would have tried it. But that is definitely not me. I definitely think there were people, there that wanted to get their moment or their TV time, which is great, right? If you can do stuff like that, go for it,
Yeah,
so I think that's a lot of what it was as well. Making a memorable moment so that that they're probably going to show it on TV. And some people's moments got shown and others didn't. So it's kind of luck of the draw.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't want to be anywhere near that. As soon as I saw it, I go, oh my goodness, I can't believe no one got hurt more.
Right. That's
Yeah.
actually the one thing my mom said. She goes, oh my God. She goes, the way that guy flipped, she goes, I'm surprised nobody got hurt. And I was like, actually,
Well,
my son got a black eye.
Could have been worse, though.
Yes.
Definitely could have been worse.
For sure. That's why I was like, you guys can stampede the center. I'm going to wait.
And, you know, no spoilers or anything, but as you continue to watch the series, there's going to be a lot of other things that come into play with what we're talking about.
Yeah. Big time.
I'm excited to watch. Well, Luigi, Tori, this was so much fun. I'm so glad you came to talk about episode number 2 with me. Is there anything either one of you would like to plug?
I'll plug my social. On Instagram is where I'm most active, tori.b.hoffman. That's where I post a lot of clips on 99 to Beat. And if you follow me, you can follow our journey on there. And then also, last thing I want to say is just stay tuned. This upcoming episode 3 is going to be insane. A lot of crazy games. A lot of intense emotions. Without getting anything away, this was a make or break one for sure for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I just want to say, thank you for having us on here. This has been so much fun. And to the viewers, just, watch and tell your friends and family to watch. It's really such a fun experience and fun show. And I think the more you watch it, the more you're going to connect with a lot of the people that they're going to show in the future. So, don't sleep on us and keep watching. There's a lot more excitement to come.
Oh, yeah. And a lot more dynamic duos of us.
Yes.
We love the excitement. Based on the preview for episode number 3, I am pumped for this because it looks messy, interesting, all of the above. So I can't wait to watch it. And once again, Luigi and Tori, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. Be sure everyone else check out everything we have going at Reality After Show. And I'll be back with more interviews with some of the cast members as well throughout the entire season. And with that, Luigi, Tori, thanks again. Everyone else, take care.
Thank you.